Welcome everyone. I'm going to analyze for you one of my recent games I played in Dubai with a strong grandmaster, Vladimir Akopian. I played in signature chess tournament, rapid tournament. I'm going to analyze for you what happened during the game. After playing King's Indian Defense by black, I was playing white. I choose the fianchetto system by white. My opponent chose the one of the dangerous lines against this variation. He played knight b d7 and then e5. After taking on d4, I took back with knight take d4. Yeah, and then he played knight c5, attacking my e4 pawn. Usually this opening is very dynamic opening. So white or black, they have to watch out for all the plans by either sides. White is getting a good center. Black is trying to counterattack the white center. I played h3. This is a normal move in this variation to having an eye on g4 square. My opponent played rook e8 by attacking more on the e4 pawn. So now I have to defend my e4 pawn. There are a lot of ways to play to defend the e4 pawn. Somehow we can play queen c2, but I choose the logical move rook e1 to defend the e4 pawn, and my opponent played bishop d7 directly. Somehow the ideas with bishop d7 can come queen c8 like this to attack on the h3. I tried to make a prophylactic move with king h2, so to defending my h3 pawn, and now later on being ready for the later on actions. So what I have to do, I have to choose a correct setup for my position. I have to bring my dark square bishop. Usually the best setup for white is to putting the queen on c2, bishop on e3, rook a to d1, and somehow preparing for b4 ideas on the queen side. And as we can see, white is getting a good space advantage in this position. Okay, my opponent played h5. It's a very aggressive move here. The idea is he wants to push h4. And if I answer by g4, he's creating a lot of weaknesses on the king side. I have to be careful here. I played bishop f4. So I didn't want to play bishop b3 because my e4 pawn is hanging, and queen c2 is not possible either because of, again, knight takes e4 ideas. So I played bishop f4, maybe the idea queen d2, rook a d1, and the fast development later on, I can play something like bishop g5, because now, as you can see, g5 square is also weakened. So some moments also I can push e5 pawn break. My opponent acted with h4. Actually, he played the h5 plan with this idea. I cannot take the pawn on h4. If I take, my king side pawn structure will becomes completely damaged. So I was just considering not to take it. So in this position, after thinking for a while, I played g4, not to touching my king side pawns. Now I'm ready for playing queen d2 and bringing the rook a d1 and somehow dislodging the knight on c5 with b4 ideas. So as you can see, I have a good space advantage. I have to keep this going on. Usually the rule is not to exchanging the pieces, because as we exchange the pieces, black will get an easy game finding out how to create chances. So my opponent started to think, finding a good plan for himself, like how to use this weak squares he created. Actually, if he gets the f4 square for himself, then game can be easier for him. So I have to watch out. And black has to also play carefully. If he gives me enough time to consolidate my position, it will becomes dangerous for him. So he has to also play energetically and finds the exact move orders to completely be in the game. And just one more thing, I cannot play e5 here also. This is not my plan because he can take, bishop take. There is a tactic knight g4 coming, so because of my king in on h2. So I cannot play e5 also, but my main plan is just preparing the position with queen d2 like this. So my opponent played knight h7, a very interesting idea. He's planning to play g5 and controlling the e5 square and making the f4 as a great weakness there. So maybe later he can maneuver with knight f8, knight g6. He can attack the f4 square, will get a good initiative on the dark squares. I was thinking about this. Now my e4 pawn is not under the attack. I can do something here. I started to think about this position to making a prophylactic move. So I saw that he's playing bishop b5 also. It's a very dangerous plan for white. So I tried to stop this and also stopping the g5 plan for black. Somehow making a prophylactic thinking. I played bishop b3. So now my idea is to play f4 and my opponent reacted g5. Actually, this is somehow the forced move, stopping my f4. I cannot go f4. My dark squares will become completely weakened. So now f5 square is under my control. I played knight f5 immediately. I'm ready for exchange because if he exchange, I can take back with the e pawn and my light square bishop can becomes opened. Then I can use my light square bishop in this position also. Okay, I think it's completely forced to take, because otherwise I'm ready to take on the g7 bishop, the best piece for black, actually performing well for black in this position. And okay, my main setup is there. If I get enough time, I'm ready to play queen d2 and rook a d1 and just preparing knight d5. I'm ready to play on the center. So then later on, my opponent may be forced to play c6, and then the d6 pawn will become weakened. So he took on f5, he takes f5. Now he played c6, important move, closing my bishop's diagonal and giving me the d6 pawn weakened. But we have to remember in the King's Indian defenses, usually the d6 pawn is a dynamic weakness. So attacking to that weakness is very hard. So, okay, I'm just making my position ready. I play queen d2, somehow having an eye onto the g5 pawn and preparing rook a2 d1, attacking the d6 pawn. So now black can just choose good moves, trying to set up a grip for himself onto the dark squares. So he played bishop b5. I have to get out of check. I was thinking about king h1 or king g1. So is there any difference here? So that's why I was thinking. So I choose the king g1 and he played queen f6. Usual setup, he's becoming ready for rook d8 also. I saw that I can take on c5. Actually, I didn't like it because I saw that d4 will become a very important weakness on the position. I was thinking about how to play b4, but actually I was not finding any way to play because c3 knight is hanging. First, I wanted to play rook a c1, but then I saw he can play a5 easily, stopping my b4 plan. And if I want to play b3, a3, b4, it will take a lot of time. And we know that in this position, time is very, very important fact, actually. I cannot play a3 directly also because after a5, he can play a4 and making my b2 pawn a backward pawn. It would become more difficult for me. Then that made me to forget about this plan. So I started to think for something else and even how to play in the center. I didn't want to exchange the dark square bishops because if I exchange the dark square bishops, my light square bishop is not good. I can open it by b4, b5 plan, but it will take again a time. And as you can see, my f4 square is also weakened. I was thinking if one of his pieces can achieve that square, my position will become very, very bad. Okay, all of this is just important, but we have to just check everything according to the position. Like, we cannot judge the position like this easily. We have to see the position, and with the exact evaluation factors, we can see which moves are important to play. Okay, my opponent is famous and well-known grandmaster. He knows, of course, how to handle these positions, and I have to find the exact move orders. I played rook a to d1, attacking the d6 pawn. Later on, maybe I want to play b4 also. I was expecting him to place rook d8 actually. I think rook d8 can be a good move for him to stop bishop takes c5 ideas or some other things. But he played a5. And this, I think this move gives me a good chance somehow to create a... because if I not be a fast in this position, I will end up in a difficult position. So I have to be completely fast and do everything energetically. So I took on c5. Maybe this is a risky positional decision, but I made it happen. Now I was thinking, if he takes d takes c5, I can play knight e4. So queen e7. Then I saw I have a moves like queen d7, but he didn't accept it. D takes c5, he took on c3. This move I calculated well. I saw queen d6 is wrong because of rook takes c1. So in between move came, I took on e8. After rook takes e8, then I took on d6. As I just well calculated here, he don't have a rook e1 check here. He cannot trick me here because rook e1 check. I will not take on e1. I will play simple bishop f1 and defending against the check. So now we can see we are reaching an ending position. I think black is forced to take the queens. And I have a 2 bishop advantage. Okay, his knight on h7 is also not good. If I manage to catch the b7 pawn, it would be very good for me. So he took on the d6. I took back with the rook because bishop take is bad because of rook d8 somehow. Or he can take on b2, then he can play this move also. But I took with the rook takes d6. He is forced to take the pawn. Otherwise, he will be pawn down. So I was thinking after bishop b2, have to play in the position. I saw that he can do rook e1 check after bishop f1 somehow. Activate his knight by knight f6, knight e4, knight d2 ideas. But okay, it's a time important moves also. We have to see what's happening in the game. So he took on b2. And this was the important moment, I think, for me. I should have maybe played rook d7 here, trying to attack. When I saw bishop b3, I thought that it's a very strong move. Why? Because I'm just locking the e-file, and I'm going to be ready for rook d7. It's coming important. Now we can see the bishops are dominating. But actually, I was wrong. Okay, when you are playing with a strong grandmasters and you are giving them a time, they can find strong ideas as well. I have to admit, okay, this was a very interesting resource here. So I missed this idea by black. You can think about it. What move can black play here to have enough resources to counterplay white's 2 bishop advantage? As we can see, if he gives us a chance to play rook d7 and then rook takes b7, bishop takes c6, game over. He has to be fast, and he cannot play knight f6. That's why I played knight bishop e3. He found a brilliant bishop c1 move. I surprised by this move. I saw if I take, he will play rook e1 check and bishop f1. He can take my c1 bishop back, and I didn't like that position because position is almost closed until I'm getting the b7 and c6 pawn. It will take a lot of time for me to activate my bishop, and if his knight comes to the game, it will be difficult for me. So I tried to keep the bishops on the board. I played bishop b6. Ideas maybe okay, simple taking the pawn on a5, maybe now rook d7. I was little happy also his knight cannot come to f6 anymore. But my position is at least needs the 2-3 moves to become more better. He played a4 to defending at least pawn. I feel a little danger also here. I thought that maybe if he can play a3 and rook e2, rook a2, this a pawn can becomes a dangerous passed pawn there. But okay, anyway, I have to play little like energetically to not to lose the chance here, not to give the black to take control of the position. And we can see that the fight is completely edge to edge. I'm very happy with my position because still I have a strong two bishops. The only problem with my light square bishop is it's not opened yet. So I played rook d7 to taking the b7 pawn. If of course he cannot defend the b7 pawn with rook b8 like this. We cannot expect this happens in a this grandmaster level also. So my opponent played rook e1. I reacted fast, bishop f1. That's the only move. So now I'm ready to take on b7. My opponent played bishop f4. I was a little wrong here. I should have taken on b7 pawn, but actually after rook b7, rook b1, I couldn't find any way to have to get rid of this pin because I don't have rook b8 check. So bishop is controlling and he's planning knight f6, knight e4. And really it was difficult for me, but after checking with the computers, I saw that white is having a lot of advantage here. I played king g2. Actually, this move was also a good one. And just getting off of a pin, somehow my bishop is becoming little free now. I was thinking rook b7, rook b1, then I can play bishop d3, so then bishop b4. And then my opponent acted rook f6, sorry, knight f6. So I should have taken on b7 now, but I did rook d8 check, king g7, and I played rook a8. During the game, of course, a lot of pressure is happening. I thought that maybe getting the a4 pawn can be a good option for me. But now black has enough chance to create an active maneuver with his knight. He played knight d7. Idea is to bring in the knight to e5 and somehow creating active chances there. I played bishop d4 check because I don't want to give up my bishop. He played bishop e5 and then I reacted with bishop b3 fast. I will never take on e5. As I told you, his knight will become very, very active. And you can see when in the king side we have a weak squares, we don't need to exchange this. I play bishop f4, bishop d4 check. And I think he has to come back with bishop e5, because if you play knight e5, I can take the a4 pawn free. So he played bishop e5, bishop b3. Even I was in a short of time here. I thought that maybe making a risk will be very bad here. So I tried to stop my opponent, then just not to taking the a4 pawn because it's becoming very dangerous also. So he again reacted with bishop f4, bishop d4, bishop e5. Then I came back with bishop e3 and threefold repetition. He offered the draw and I accepted. Very nice game. I hope you enjoyed by watching this video. Thank you.